Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. Today, before I have conversations with you about the removal of doubt and about your concerns, I want to say a little bit about something that no one has brought up in the open satsang, but in the last 2 weeks, maybe 3 or 4 times, people have come to me either afterwards or somewhere else and mentioned experiences that they've had energetically in the body, in dreams, sometimes recently, often years ago. Some sort of a recognition very powerfully. One person told me about a manifestation of a certain kind of power that frightened them and yet proved to be a great attractant for other people, brought them to this person, and then they didn't know what to do. These powers, most of you probably know, are referred to in the tradition as siddhis. Powers that come as a consequence of deep sadhana, deep reflection, deep contemplation. And they can take many different forms. The power to heal, the power to hear without people speaking, a kind of psychic ability can evolve or develop. Visions about universal oneness, about the unity of all manifested experiences, and so on. All of these experiences, for the person who has them, seem to be universally uplifting, inspiring. But ultimately, these experiences or these powers will fade. And the question most often asked of me is, how can I get back to that place? How can I experience that power, that vision once again? So I would just remind you, if in your sadhana you have one of these great experiences of power, of bliss, of unity, and so on, and at some point it fades, I would just remind you that this is the nature of mind-created, mind-experienced phenomenon. These kinds of powers, visions and so on, experiences, frequently come for people, not for everyone. So if you haven't had these kind of experiences, you can just not listen. I don't want to send anybody searching for them. Because for most, they ultimately become a distraction. If your goal, if you will, or your intention is to realize the self, to awaken to your true nature, these siddhis, these powers, these visions can become a real distraction. And the distraction can last for a few days or it can last for years. The way the distraction works is that this memory is so pleasant, so strong, that one tries to get one's entire sadhana in alignment with how the mind tells you that this experience came about. So you will set your schedule to meditate at exactly the same time, sit in the same way, eat the same food you ate that morning, blah, blah, blah. The whole time, forgetting to ask the question, who was aware or is aware of this phenomenon? It's easy for us when we are in pain or we are struggling with something or we are suffering emotionally for some period of time to want to drop things, to want to push them away, to want to not take them up as a form of identification because they are difficult. But when the experience is blissful, pleasant, enjoyable, inspirational, the subtle clinging that comes can be much, much harder to put down. I'm not encouraging you to treat mystic phenomenon, psychic phenomenon, as though it's a problem. I just want to remind you of your goal, of what it is you came here to do, to awaken to the true nature of the self. Phenomenon are always coming and going, some pleasant, some unpleasant. If you attach yourself through personal identity to any experience which comes as a consequence of your devotion, your practice, your endeavor to realize the self, you will ultimately have to go through a period of letting go and of understanding that the phenomenon, the experiences, no matter how pleasant, that have come, have gone. This is the definition of impermanence. And the sign to you to keep on with the inquiry, to let whatever phenomenon come, go, with the intention of understanding, I am the self. All that can be seen is coming and going. In the stable and open recognition, I am the self. In some way, it is also the self. But it also can be said that by its very nature as a phenomenon, which is coming and going, or which has come and gone, it can be realized. If it has come and gone, it is not it. And we come back again to the question, what is real? What is not generated by mind? When the mind is brought to a place of equipoise, or basic equality of all phenomenon, what begins to shine is that which is unborn, undying, unchanging. That in which all of this is arising, truly illuminated by the self, but cannot be pointed to, identified with, or grasped at as the self itself, which does not come and go. So no matter what happens in the world of form, keep asking this question as long as experiences are attracting you. What is aware of this? This simple tool will enable you to move through the phenomenon, not as a problem, but just as not very interesting. In your quest to realize the self is always here. It is always there. You are always it, under all conditions. But the conditions and the phenomenon that arise as a result of sadhana will mask it and veil it and get you to look in a different direction. A direction that supports some subtle form of the personal or the egoic existence. So always keep in mind that whatever rises in body, mind, or world, it's none of your business. You are the self. Realize that, and all is well. I think I said a few days ago, some of you will remember if you were here, that many, many different things show up during sadhana. All of the traditions contain within them the various pointers that can put us on the path to realization, which is not a path really, because we're discovering or rediscovering what is already here. But it has that feeling. All of the traditions can in some way be described as a path or a pathway to the self. But the real path, if you will, is very much individual. So if there are 8 billion people on the planet at the moment, there are 8 billion paths, each one unique to the aspirant, the meditator, the seeker. The traditions provide pointers, guideposts, guardrails to keep us from going too far this way and too far that way. All of the instruction says to us, go a little bit right. And when we go too far to the right, the instruction says, go a little bit left. This is why you can sit in satsang or watch videos and so on, and you will hear someone ask a question and be given a pointer, and the next person asks a question and they seem to be given a pointer that is opposite. One is being told go left, the other is being told go right. The path you are walking to the recognition of the self is unique to you in the sense that if you know that whatever is here now for you is part of your sadhana, so that you aren't avoiding it and you aren't grasping it like it's some solution to your problem, but rather recognizing that whatever is in front of you, whatever is here now, is a gift from the Supreme, from the Self, which is guiding you from inside to realize your nature as the Self. Then you cannot become lost in any phenomenon or any experience that arises as a result of your sadhana. You will always be guided by the experiences and to the experiences, people and situations which are necessary for your growth toward realization, toward the recognition that who you are, you have always been, and you were just on the walk home. Where you have landed is here, where you have always been. But now you know it fully. There's no delusion in it. And you recognize that you are that which you were seeking. But now you are free of the past, free of the future, free even of the present. And you are simply here as being consciousness, awareness itself, without modification, projection, desire, or abandonment. You are that. All right. All right. Now, please raise your hand if you'd like to have the microphone.
Can an experience of oneness be similar to the ultimate reality? Because it seems very much the truth, but to me it's still not clear this.
But to you it did not what?
It's still not clear if an experience of oneness, because we are speaking a lot about this oneness, and it's still not clear if that is it can be similar to the ultimate reality, or
Yeah, similar in the sense that it's a glimpse. Huh? It's a glimpse. Dissimilar in the sense that it still has that feeling quality of being an experience. Right? The truth of your nature is not an experience. It is what you are. This is beyond the experiences that the mind or the body can grasp. So we can have this experience of oneness that comes as a sense of mystic union. Beautiful. So lovely. But the way we know it's an experience and not it is that the experience fades. Even though it may become a strong memory, and we may even be able to draw on it for inspiration. We may be able to remember some peace of mind or some experience in the body which was very beautiful, very blissful. The body was free, there was no pain, all of these kinds of experiences. But we know clearly that this was all happening in the realm of experience because it does fade. And this notion, once again, that I am the body or the mind, or I have something to seek or something to get or something to understand, this desire comes back again. So it doesn't completely eliminate doubt. When the self is realized, and it's not an experience of oneness, but the isness, the suchness, the presence of the self, all doubt is eliminated. In this, there's a recognition, oh, this was not an experience. This is what is here. This is what has always been here. and there's no peak and valley to it. It becomes very smooth and very steady and very lasting.
But there will be some similar feelings of that also.
Yes and no. Yes, because there are similarities. But no, because when the self is realized, what is realized is no one has realized anything. There is no one here. So the one who experienced mystical union or bliss or open, elevated awareness is simply not here anymore. So even these phenomenon, delightful as they are in the experience of the person, become uninteresting to the sage. The sage is always here, now, and can say, leans into what is, not what is coming and going. You understand?
Yes.
So phenomenon keep coming and going for the yoni. But there is nobody there. So the experiences are coming and going within open space, and there's no one to either accept or reject them. They simply are. And life is here in its fullness, without preference, you can say. But with great joy. The life of the sage is the life of pure pleasure, because there's no decision making. Do I like this? Do I not like that? Do I want that? Do I not want that? There can still be preferences, but there's no one making that decision. The body may still need certain things, may still need certain care. So this may go on, but this goes on as a natural function of the body, not as a requirement from the me. The sage goes on regardless, in this natural acceptance that all of this is that. So it can be said that everything is experienced by no one. And in this happening, there is joy.
My question is, I think it's quite easy to understand that we are not, I'm not this body or I'm not this mind, come back to awareness.
Lucky you.
But as awareness, what's the show is always with the same body, mind, and word. I won't wake up tomorrow in another body, mind, and word. And so it's very difficult to not have this feeling of my body, mind,
Yes.
and my word.
Yes.
I mean, that's, and because it's this relationship between this pure awareness and this body mind. I mean, it's also an exclusive relationship. So I understand it's not mine, but it's very difficult to to realize that.
Yes. Absolutely. This continuity that we seem to experience, tied together with a sense of time, which is created by the feeling of continuity, by the tying together of one experience with another experience, the concept of time unfolds. Is the main reason why we continue in some way, why you continue in some way, to believe that you are the body. The body seems to contain a kind of continuity. Keep looking at that though, until you can see that there is no continuity. This moment to this moment. There is certainly now, 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 but there is no continuity. That each now is a spontaneous arising and is being experienced in an interdependent or codependent way. In other words, body depends on mind, mind depends on body, time, space, blah, blah, blah. All is dependent one on the other. All is rising together apparently. But if you are able to look, by look, I mean don't assume that that continuity is real, but look, moment by moment by moment by moment. You will come to understand continuity is an illusion. There is only the spontaneous arising or the spontaneous presence of being consciousness. That is all that's here. Everything else is happening within this very complex system of conditioning that we call the body-mind world. All of this, one aspect dependent upon another, but all of it a house of cards. Because when time stops, when you give up seeking, when you no longer need to do or be or become anyone, then everything becomes now. There isn't even now, 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 which implies some segmentation or separation. There is only now. Now. And this can't be described. And this whole game of the mind of trying to understand these concepts and notions of continuity and time simply falls apart. It can't be sustained. These are concepts which cannot be sustained by awareness, which is here now, continuously.
But there is a bond between this local awareness
Yes.
and this body mind also. No, there is a bond. As long as this body is alive, I mean, there is something. So it's not mine, but there is a bond.
Yes.
That's.
So it is said But even this bond can be cut. Pristine or naked awareness is here regardless of whether that granthi, it's called, that knot is there. And one of the things that happens through the recognition of the self is that this granthi or knot, I say this because it's referred to being here in the solar plexus or lower belly area, is cut. Now the body-mind continues to live out what's referred to as prarabdha karma, the karma which brought the body and mind into existence. The body-mind continues to live that out. But the realized self has no interest in any of that, doesn't interfere with that, and also, most importantly, doesn't identify with that. The identity is completely wiped out in favor of naked awareness, which is always here now, has no relationship to what came before, and no interest in any imaginary coming later. Do you see that this cuts the bond of discontinuity that you're talking about? Yeah?
So in truth, this pure awareness has nothing to do with this body-mind, we can say.
Nothing. Nothing. And nothing to do with the experiences of this body-mind. And paradoxically, all that appears to be happening and seems to be going on is going on in the direct perception of this naked or pure self-awareness, which is here now. It's a paradox. There is nothing happening, but there seems to be. The realization of wisdom is there is nothing happening, and what appears to be is no more substantial than a dream. When you wake up in the morning, you know instantly that was a dream. You know that instantly. When you wake up from the waking dream, this idea of continuity, body, mind, world, it's also known immediately, instantly. This is a dream. That which is aware is the foundation on which this entire house of cards is built. One doesn't need to keep knocking down houses of cards. They may go on being built for some time. In fact, for most, they are. Most of the stories of the great sages, there's always a talk of the period of stabilization in the self, which can take anywhere from an instant to many years, but the most common is most commonly referred to as something that takes a number of years for one who has realized the self to become fully stable in the recognition that this is a waking dream, but it is a dream nonetheless. This is just because of the momentum of conditioning, the momentum of samsara, what has brought us here. And that's why Sri Bhagavan said, even to those outside, the sage can appear very normal and appear like he or she is going through the same things that the devotee is going through. But he or she is not, because there is no he or she there. The body is working out its prarabdha karma, but the yoni has no interest in that. This points us to what you are realizing, which is that the self has no straight line relationship that you can point to, grasp, cling to between the real and the unreal. The real is the real. The unreal is the unreal. This is the recognition. The yoni enjoys everything, knowing that what is here is not herself, is not himself. And yet somehow, this self, which I am, illumines all of this. And so by that very characteristic, it can be enjoyed. The source of illumination is here. I am that. Everything else is the leela, the play of the Supreme. So why not enjoy it? But of course, this kind of enjoyment is very much unlike the ordinary enjoyment of the seeker that comes and goes and is grasped at when it's pleasant and pushed away when it's unpleasant. That whole game is what crumbles. Now, what is here, what is in this moment, is recognized to be being consciousness, and the recognition of that has the consequence of bliss. If you want to begin to experience this in your ordinary life, if you feel like you are not the self at this moment, I just encourage you to begin to practice the art of non-reaction. Just allow things to come to you and to go from you without grasping at them and without clinging to them and without reacting to them, having an opinion about them. Let things be as they are, as often as possible. Don't seek to justify the personality with your ideas, imagination, feelings, opinions about what is here. Simply have no opinion. Be here fully. You will still be here when you don't run anything which is here with you through the mind. You will still be here, I promise. And happier for it. Fewer opinions, fewer reactions, less conflict. Simply here. as being, consciousness, awareness itself. Be willing to let go more quickly. Come back into the peace of your own being. It is already here. Don't push it away. All right, I think that's good for today.